gonna lie, I'm really upset because this was supposed to be a really happy video. This was supposed to be a really good thing. There was supposed to be no negative points at all. And then these guys showed up and just had to completely ruin my day. Hey everybody, welcome to the speed build. So, I kind of want to talk about something today. And, I was planning on making a video similar to this at the end of June, no matter what happened. It was just kind of always on my itinerary of what I want to do. But with recent events, I feel it is definitely more needed. The tone of the video I'm making is probably going to change a little bit than what I was planning. But, I feel like it's time we have a talk about Pride Month. So for those of you who are not aware, I recently just moved to Wisconsin from Alabama. Now, Pride Month in Alabama was more or less a non-event. There were a few parades in the larger cities, mostly Huntsville, stuff like that, but they were very much confined to like a one-day event. And then outside of that, you never saw anything about it. There were not very many flags because flying a flag kind of put like a big red X on you for it to like kind of be targeted by certain not so nice individuals. That's one of the things that I'm a little ashamed to admit I'm from the South for, because that stuff is real. Like I know a lot of people see it on TV and stuff like that and think, oh, that's not really real. Oh no, the people down there will very, very quickly call you out for stuff like that, and it's terrible. But because of that, there weren't very many flags. There wasn't a whole lot of mention about it. Obviously, there are LGBT plus people in the South. Don't get me wrong, they very much exist. But it just wasn't something that was generally talked about a lot. It wasn't something you ever really saw. Fast forward to me moving to Wisconsin. The very first time I noticed this wasn't even in Pride Month. It wasn't even in June. This was still in May when I first moved up here. And I took my dog to the groomer. And when I took her to the groomer, I, was standing at the counter waiting to pay. And I noticed that up on the counter, there was one of the trans flags. And in my mind, I sat there and I thought, this is so cool. I was blown away by the fact that I thought it was so cool that this person could, put this flag up and not worry about what impact it would have on their business. They weren't worried that, they put this flag up and all of a sudden all their business is gonna stop. People are gonna quit coming to them. They'll have to close the doors, having things thrown through their window, harassment, breaking, vandalism, stuff like that. It just really blew my mind that it was not a concern for her and that she was, in my point, brave enough to put it up, which that crossed my list. Okay, this is gonna be my dog groomer for the rest of my life. I didn't think much else of it at the time. I thought it was, maybe a one-off. But then as I started living here a little bit longer, I've realized that it's a lot more common and prevalent here, even before Pride Month began. My neighbor across the street had a pride flag flying in their yard. There's a bookstore right down the road from me that is very, very pridefully decorated. Not to the point where it's tacky. It's still a really, really great looking store, but they're also very proud of their pride identity there. So in a way, it's kind of been like moving to a new area has kind of just, it's been an experience for me because I've never seen, like I've seen on TV, obviously, these pride parades and stuff like that. And I always thought it was really cool, but it's different when it's not around you and you don't see it. It's almost like watching a movie, sort of, oh, that was a cool movie, but back in real life, it was really, really interesting to see this come in real life, to be able to, see just your day-to-day people, ice cream shops, bookstores, stuff like that have these pride sections and stuff like that and flying pride flags. And I really, really enjoyed it. And one of the things I really noticed that I really liked about it here was it wasn't over the top. Does that make sense? Kind of our perspective from what we see down in the South with pride parades and Pride Month and stuff like that is that it's always very over the top, very, I don't want to use the word annoying because that's not the right word. It's to a point where it could almost disrupt day-to-day life. It was really fun and interesting to see that that's not really the case. There's a lot of pride here, but it's not, overwhelming. It's very, how do I want to put this? It's like like it's just part of normal life. I guess that's the point I'm trying to get behind. Like, I feel like this isn't something that's just because of Pride Month. This is just how people live here. And I am totally for it. I love it. Now, don't get me wrong. I am a cis, straight, white female, okay? I don't exactly know all the terminology. So, well, when I say straight, I'm probably about 90% straight. There's that 10% wiggle room in there where, like, if I wasn't married and I was at a bar one night and there was a girl that I just, we were getting along really well, hey, I don't know. We'll see where the night goes and have some fun, right? But 90% straight. So I always feel a little uncomfortable talking about it because I'm not necessarily part of that community. And there's, to a point, some things I can never really understand about it. Just for example, I'll never be able to understand what it feels like to be walking down the street with my partner and have people glare at us. I'll never be able to really truly understand the concept of people thinking my relationship is wrong. There's a lot there that it's kind of one of those things, if you're not in it, you can't really understand it. And I'm very much aware of that. And because I'm aware of that, I get nervous talking about it sometimes because I don't want to accidentally say the wrong thing and offend someone, because that's the last thing I ever want to do. But all that being said, I am really, really freaking proud of where I live right now, because everyone can just be themselves. No one is hiding or scared of, what other people might think. It doesn't seem like anyone's scared of their house getting burned down in the middle of the night if, they have an opinion or belief that's outside the norm of the area where we live. It's really, really nice to live in an area now where everyone is more or less okay with being just who they are. And I am completely for that. I could not be happier with where I live right now. So it kind of really upsets me now, because I had been planning this video more or less since I first moved here, and I started noticing the differences between where I was living and where I'm living now. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm really upset because this was supposed to be a really happy video. This was supposed to be a really good thing. There was supposed to be no negative points at all. And then these guys showed up and just had to completely ruin my day. So if you're unaware, on this last Friday, the Supreme Court issued a ruling stating that Roe v. Wade is no longer the law of the land, more or less. Now, Roe v. Wade was focused on the constitutional right to abortion. Now, of course, you're wondering, what does that have to do with Pride Month? Well, it was one of the things that one of the justices, Clarence Thomas, had said while he was issuing his statement. In future cases, we should reconsider all of this court's substantive due process proceedings, including Griswold, Lawrence, and Oberfell, because any substantive due process decision is demonstrably erroneous. We have a duty to correct the error established in those precedents. So basically, the opinion that this justice has posted is saying that due to the same issues that they felt Roe v. Wade was unconstitutional applies to these other cases, which include the case to contraception and the case that allowed gay marriage to be law of the land. Talk about a blow for Pride Month that this had to come out right at the end of Pride Month. In the middle of all these things of me, being extremely proud of where I'm living, of finally feeling like, hey, you know what? I think I might have found the place I want to live for the rest of my life. This happened. That just completely kind of shocks the system to a point that we have a Supreme Court justice who now believes that gay marriage should be overturned. And don't get me wrong, I'm not necessarily trying to take the focus of this ruling away from the abortion case and Roe v. Wade, because that is a very, very important deal that honestly would deserve its own separate video, because that is a lot to get into. But the fact that it is, that ruling is now affecting the current constitutional right people have to marry who they want. To me, that's really disturbing. That really, really upsets me. We're in a position now where in a few years, gay marriage may be illegal. Just setting aside even just the practicalities of of if that were to happen. For example, if a gay couple is married now, would their marriage still continue to be recognized or not? Just the morality of the idea of that, it kind of just shakes me to the core a little bit. You know, I remember the day that gay marriage became legal, and I remember, again, I was in the South, and I remember people complaining about it. I just remember thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to do this. I want to be living somewhere where people feel like they can be themselves, whatever their true self is. And now I feel I've finally made it to that place. You know, I'm in a place now where I feel people can be themselves, and it goes beyond just Pride Month, the LGBT community. Obviously, that's the focus of this video, but I've seen people just walking around just genuinely being themselves. I've seen girls walk around with hijabs on, and that was something you would very, very rarely ever see down in the South. It was almost to the point of being dangerous, but just seeing them walk around freely around Target, doing their shopping like anyone else, or down at the beach, you know, just enjoying the day. And to a point, it blows my mind because I'm so not used to seeing that. It's really, really sad, but I'm not used to seeing people be their true, authentic selves because of where I was raised and where I come from. So I'm over the moon to be here and to see that it is actually a thing. People, you know, can actually be themselves. And then with this ruling, from my perspective, it feels like I finally found a home, and this ruling threatens to take that away from me. Not to mention, I can't even begin to imagine how this feels for someone who is part of the LGBT community. That's just, like I've said before, that's a perspective I just don't have and never will have. I can imagine it, but it's a little different from imagining someone's perspective and actually living in that reality. So I'm very mad. I am upset that this is even on the realm of possibility to consider. And it just kind of hits hard. It really hits hard. I don't want to see us as a country go backwards from where we are. I want to see us, you know, expand and grow and have people have the same rights as everybody else. Now, given the state I'm in Wisconsin, if that were to actually happen and that become law of the land at this point, where gay marriage is no longer protected by the Constitution, where that ruling gets overturned, I honestly think this specific state would step in and make it at least a state law. They've already done so with the Roe v. Wade. The governor has promised clemency to any doctors who attempt to perform an abortion, and the attorney general has said he's just not going to prosecute it. They're currently working on legislation to update the abortion laws in Wisconsin because our current abortion law was written in 1849. So little old there. So I think within a handful of months, at least state-wise in Wisconsin, that would not be an issue for us anymore. And I feel like if the same were to happen with gay marriage, at least in Wisconsin, that would not be an issue for very long. But it's the fact it should never be an issue. And number two, what happens when you don't live in Wisconsin? What happens if you do live in a more conservative area? I think about my friends back home. I have some friends back home who are part of the LGBT community, and I hate the idea that they could have this right taken away from them. I mean, heck, to be honest, nobody can have marriages at the courthouse anymore down south. Just to put that in perspective, when my husband and I got married, this was well before gay marriage was legal. All we did was go down to the courthouse, sign some papers, and we were done. That was all we did. That's all we really wanted to do. Since gay marriage became legal, you can't even do that down in the South anymore. The courthouses just refuse to issue anybody marriage license to get around potentially issuing a gay person a marriage license. So it's already hard in the South to get married. The only way you can get married in the South right now, or at least Alabama, I guess I can't speak for the entire region, but the only way to get married is to find an ordained minister who would be willing to perform same-sex marriage. And there's not too many of those. So if you live in the South and want to get married, you're already having to travel to another place, which I feel is really wrong. I don't understand why people can't just walk into a courthouse down south, whoever they are, and sign the papers and be done with it. To a point, I can understand certain religious leaders not wanting to perform a religious ceremony, not because I agree with those points, but I can understand that if something is going against what they personally believe, that maybe they don't want to be part of that. I can understand that, but you can't even have a legal, just a legally binding marriage in the South for anyone. I mean, nobody can have it. It's already difficult, very, very difficult to be part of the LGBT community in the South. It's one of those I worry about my friends back home. I worry that this is going to grow into something that is going to really harm them and just make life so much more difficult than it already is. It's going to force more of them into hiding who they really are, which is what I absolutely do not want to see. So this Pride Month has been a little eventful for me. Lots of feelings and opinions and stuff like that. And again, this is all just coming from my perspective, which in the scope of things is relatively small. I mean, I'm not losing my right to get married. I suppose I have lost my right to an abortion, but considering I've had a hysterectomy, if I ever need an abortion in the future, that's a pretty neat trick. But I have daughters. I have one daughter who told me the other day that she thinks she's bi. She's 8 years old. But either way, I love and support her, and I want the same rights for her that anybody else in the world gets. It's a lot for me to think about. And because of that, I feel it's time to start a conversation. Now, my platform is not very big right now. I don't have anywhere near the amount of subscribers that I would maybe need to really start a good conversation about it, but I do still feel it's part of my responsibility when I see something, say something. So that's kind of what this is all about, more or less bringing the conversation to the table about it. But I suppose I can talk about this build for a minute. So this is in Moonwood Mill. I'm sorry, I have not been able to stop building in this world since it was released. I love it. It's kind of an abandoned factory and stuff like that. I did put some trashy stuff around because that's just my new thing right now. I'm sorry, I can't stop. Someone please send help. I can't stop building trash. But it's a factory where they have taken it and converted it into a Pride nightclub. So there's, you know, Pride flags and stuff like that. There's the rainbow pool, which I really, really love. There's a dance floor and stuff like that. And I didn't make it look trashy. I did try to make it look nice. I wanted it to look nice, but there is a little trash just because I'm me. But anyway, that's really all I kind of have to say on the topic right now. It's a big topic. Lots of emotions running everywhere with it. So let me know down in the comments below how you feel. What has your Pride Month been like? How do you feel about the Supreme Court's recent ruling? And I will see everyone tomorrow when the trailer for the new expansion pack comes out. All right, bye everyone.